Hey everyone, welcome to Unearth with Shelly Hughes. I'm Shelly Hughes. On this podcast, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship and running a business. I like to talk about the lessons learned, mistakes had, and especially the wins of what it takes to really build a profitable, really passionate brand. Today, we're talking about some 2025 predictions. I wrote out some notes here of just some things that I'm seeing in the marketing space, a lot of which is really cool, is really anyone can get behind this. In past years, when I have talked about predictions for the upcoming year or the year that we're in, a lot of it is kind of tech focused and very for a lot of my clients and a lot of people that I talk to, a little bit intimidating to get into. But what's really interesting is that the predictions that I see in 2025, anyone can really tap into them. So much of it is community and kind of content based, which is really interesting. And I think back to, just a few years ago where I was talking about virtual reality and all this stuff. And what's so interesting about predictions is Meta, for example, they are still to this day trying to push their metaverse. It was a big thing, and we thought by this time we were all going to be wearing these big headsets. We were going to be in conference rooms together, and I think what's kind of odd about a lot of these advancements that we're having in technology, one of the reasons, and what I'm going to get into today, that a lot of these technology advancements, whether it's an AI or augmented reality or whatever it is, it kind of makes people feel just a little bit on edge and weird because you're almost completely taking away the human element of communication and marketing and strategic communications. And so I think that's where I'm going to start. I actually had that lower on my list, but I listened to a great podcast. I think it was Joe Rogan, and so I can't remember who it was, but he was an indie film director. He was a recent guest, and he was talking about the scariness of the film industry doing a lot of AI work and really replacing likeness, actors, voice, making full commercials that is all built on AI. And they're doing this because it's much cheaper, right? And that's the whole reason why there was a strike just this past year, because these production companies were really threatening to, hey, sign this contract, but if you sign this contract and you're in this one commercial, you might only talk and be seen for 15 seconds, but we can use AI and completely steal your likeness, whether it's a background character for the most part right now, or even in the future, it's going to be foreground characters and main characters. And obviously, there was a huge outrage on this. And kind of what this director was saying is the rebuttal to, oh no, this is good for the film industry, and this goes into marketing, goes into everything else, is because that anyone can be a filmmaker now. Now it takes down the walls of creation and creating amazing films. But what this director said, and what I'm seeing really that might happen in the marketing space as well, is that it takes away the creative and the art behind what happens. Everything within film. I mean, I don't know who saw Wicked. It was incredible. But you can see, if you really look and look at the makeup and the wardrobe and the tiny minute choices that these teams have made, that they might have spent weeks discussing, but it might only happen in a flash. The nails on Elphaba, how that works with the entire story and what that makes you feel. I think that those types of things, if we get rid of the hair and makeup department, if we get rid of all these different people, those types of things are what make us connect, even if we don't truly realize it, to whatever it is we're ingesting. What I'm seeing in 2025 is hyper realistic AI content on the marketing space as well. We just saw there's a new Coca-Cola commercial that came out for the holidays, and on the bottom it has to disclose that this was made through artificial intelligence, and it looks really cool, and a lot of it is really realistic, some of it's not so realistic, but it almost kind of makes you on edge. You're like, "Ah, someone probably, I'm sure it took a lot of energy and a lot of thought and of course everything like that, but you don't appreciate it as much as other commercials of like the true Clydesdales from Wiser, or the true, Coca-Cola trucks and polar bears from Coca-Cola. Or even the hand drawn, like all like the illustrative, you can tell there was heart behind making this. And when I look at that Coca-Cola commercial, I say, "Oh, that's interesting." But it is so cold to me. And that's what I'm truly nervous of about this, my prediction in 2025, this really hyper realistic AI content. I mean, it's taking me back to Facetune, right? That was basically the same thing. It's number one, it's making people feel disconnected to these brands because they don't feel like there's anyone as a person behind them, even if that person is an actor. Um, and two, it's creating this such high standard, I'm sure, that might have, they, even if a person is in a piece of content or a film, their hair and makeup might be completely AI, right? They might be coming in totally naked face, and their makeup and hair might all be AI. And I think it takes away this really interesting personal touch and connection that is just so important in this noisy marketplace. And I do think that if we continue on this route of this hyper realistic AI content, the noise is just going to get noisier because we're able to make so much more content so much quicker and so much easier. And so I think, even though I see this prediction of an increase in hyper realistic AI content, I think that the brands that win are going to be the ones that stick with that human element. And that kind of goes into my other predictions. So I have five predictions today. That was number one, and I have a sixth little surprise prediction at the end that I hope happens. And it might kind of be a joke, but I hope it happens. So stick around for that. So I talked about AI. So what I also see in the content space and the marketing space is really the founders or the CEOs or a really influential spokesperson in a brand, them having their own and investing in their own personal brand. I see it very much on the rise. I'm launching another podcast episode, I believe next week, all about my predictions for 2025 personal branding and how to create one. And I think what I'm seeing more and more is people are kind of not loving this artificial visuals that they're seeing and artificial stories that they're seeing. They are gravitating more towards the person. And this can happen in a lot of different ways. I think people buy from people, they join tribes, they don't join businesses. They don't buy from businesses. And that's been a trend for years now, but I think now more than ever we have to just keep remembering that, because one way that I think these brands are trying to lean into people are joining brands and not buying from businesses is their founders or CEOs or whoever is really the visionary of the brand. They are coming out with their own personal brands. So I will let you listen to the whole episode of, personal branding in 2025 that comes after this. But I see a huge rise in that, more so now than really any ever before. And in that, what's really interesting is, especially on social media, I think a few years ago and even last year, we saw a lot of educational content. It was the 5 tips to XYZ. It's the how to ABC, right? And I think that content was really great in a lot of ways, but what it turned into was content that people could just Google or ask ChatGPT. So I am seeing it in 2025, a definite shift from educational content, a lot of times with that personal brand, right? From educational content to community focused content. And when I say community focused content online specifically, I see it less as a, when someone's coming to a page, it's not a page that they feel like, aspirational. It's like, oh, I want to be this person. I want, it's more like, I want to sit down on the couch and have coffee with this person. When someone comes to your page, they want to feel like, I hate this word, but they want to feel like it's kind of a safe space for them, that you truly understand what they are and what they do. The music industry does this all the time where they will have Discord servers of super fans, right? And that engagement that they have with these super fans, and they have full agencies, marketing agencies that monitor these servers. The impact of that and develop finding those super fans and putting them all in the same space for them to basically sell and be ambassadors for you. They can monitor the server for you. It's just an amazing way to build that community, and I think it's much more impactful. Even if you and the goal really isn't to get 2 million followers, right? But the goal is to get as much as you can, I guess, really, really engaged um, followers that are constantly engaging with your content and feeling like, yes, this person knows exactly what I'm going through, and they hear what I'm saying, and they're hearing what I'm thinking, and they're giving me space to interact and engage and just feel like I'm sitting on the couch with them. This is transitioning too. I see these a lot of these brands transitioning not just from communities online, but really these in real life experiences. Thank God we're post COVID. Thank God we're getting back in person and really having that human element. But I'm seeing a lot of exclusive events. I'm seeing a lot of private spaces that people are really coming together and being able to engage with each other on such a deeper level, and seeing their tribe that they joined online and they've been engaging with for years, transitioning to in person, really being able to make that connection. So I think that's a really exciting thing that I'm seeing. The other thing I'm seeing in terms of content is this transition from these quick 6-second annoying B-roll, read more and caption reels to more long form storytelling content. And the trend is all the same. I'm in 2025, I'm seeing this ultra realistic AI content, visual content. But at the same time, I'm seeing this hyper humanizing content as well, which I'm really excited about. That I hope the AI content comes and goes quickly. Um, but this long form storytelling content just really lifts the skirt up just a little bit more of engaging with a lot of these brands, engaging with the personal brands behind the brands. So what I'm seeing is there's a lot of longer form content, not just based on a growth series, right? It's not just having quick clips about, hey, here's what I'm doing this week, here's what I have for breakfast, but it's really allowing someone to, almost like a podcast, someone listen in form so they can get just a deeper understanding. And I think I'm going to bring up Joe Rogan again because I just love his podcast. He does such a good job of this, because even when he was talking about interviewing, you know, Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris's team only wanted, because they were so busy, they only wanted a 1 hour sit down with him. And he said, no. He said, you can BS your way through a 1 hour episode, but once you get into the 2 hour, 3 hour, that's when things really start to unravel and you really get to know a person. I think that's what I'm seeing a lot in 2025. And not to say that people are going to be sitting down for 3 hours to listen to your YouTube channel, but I am seeing a shift to when people are engaged and they do want to learn more, they will ingest that long form content. And a great way of doing that is just repurposing content. So maybe start a podcast. Maybe that podcast can be video and it goes over to YouTube. You can notice what I'm doing today. So I'm seeing a lot of more long form storytelling content. And from that, um, I'm seeing a lot more series as well. And that's my next prediction, is within content, I'm seeing that brands are really treating social media platforms kind of like low budget TV series. And what does a TV series do, right? It shows character building. It has people wanting to come back to the next episode. And what's really interesting is that a single personal brand or a single brand can have multiple kinds of series. So a trend that I'm seeing is a lot of financial transparency. So businesses and leaders of businesses who have developed their personal brands are coming onto videos and saying, here's how much money we made last month, here's how many cups of coffee we sold, here is, and they're, but more than ever before, I'm seeing this very vulnerable way that people are talking about money and finances. And I think some of the digital creators have been doing that for a few years now, but it's seeping into a lot of other brands and a lot of other industries. So that could be a whole series of, hey, let's talk about how much money we made last year, and I think I'm seeing that a lot because they are speaking directly to business owners, and so that's something that I can really engage with, and I can, something that piques my interest. But financial transparency series, I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing kind of the founder story series. So it's, what is your origin story? How did you get to where you are today? What are those micro stories that really impacted who you are and what you do? What was it like to hire your first hire? What was the biggest mistake you ever made? Right? I feel like you can talk forever, and that founder series, and maybe even starting there, can kind of help you understand what your personal brand is. And again, I go really, really in depth with this in this next episode. So definitely follow, definitely turn on your notifications on social media and Spotify, because I'm going to be talking about that much more. In addition to, your founder story, where you came from, I've seen a lot of growth series. So it could be, hey, this is part 42 of growing a whatever kind of business, right? Bootstrapping a whatever kind of business. And it's kind of showing, hey, this is the problem I'm dealing with this week. This is how I'm getting through it. And I think it really just brings people along your journey, that not only really helps establish that personal brand, but it helps people just be connected with you and who you are and what you're trying to build. I'm seeing other series, like, for example, Pinterest has this whole series right now. It's not video, I don't think. Maybe some of it is, but it's a series all about the color cherry red. Cherry red is just like their color, and they're really leaning in. So I think you can think about series in a lot of different ways, and a lot of different modalities, a lot of different mediums, a lot of different content lengths. Having a series mindset, thinking, hey, how can we make this low budget TV essentially? Laura DiFrancesco from Ethereal Farms, she does a great job of this, of renovating her barn and doing things to her barn. So I definitely recommend checking out her YouTube channel. And so that is 3, 4, yeah. That is all my predictions. For 2025, my sixth and little bonus extra credit prediction for 2025 is that MySpace is coming back. And I don't know if this is a joke. I don't know. I certainly hope it's not. MySpace is near and dear to my heart, but I'm getting little birds in my ear tweeting that, MySpace might have its comeback in 2025, and if so, I'm here for it. But thank you so much for joining me today. I love talking about this kind of stuff. And here, I want to listen to what you think is happening in 2025, whether it's in marketing or in business or anything in between. I love talking about the unsiloing of business and marketing, and marketing and sales, and just how we can think about our businesses of this living and growing, and kind of something that we can nurture, because that's exactly what it is. So if you like this episode, please rate and review. Please follow along. Follow me on social media at Shelly Hughes _. And I hope to see you next week when we talk about personal branding in 2025.